Hello again. So it's the big one. Religion. Had to happen sooner or later. So my sister generously started watching my videos and she came up with the comment or question, I don't actually remember which, about religion and spirituality being the same thing. And then again about religion/spirituality also being witchcraft. So, as I've probably touched on in a dozen different videos, it all comes down to this one, I guess, for a proper explanation. So, to start off with, I am not. What is the word? I am not talking down to anybody's faith. I am not saying mine is better than yours and what you believe is wrong. I'm not saying this. This is just the basic difference between religion and spirituality as far as I see it. And as far as various people on the internet also see it. So, a lot of times people use these words interchangeably when they are indeed nothing alike. So, I have a few notes here. Religion is usually texts, the Bible, the Quran, the Book of Mormon, and the Bible. And usually they have one single book and they say, this is it. Everything you need to know is in this book. Any questions you might have, if it's not in here, we don't have the answer to it. Which is all well and good. If you're not concerned about there not always being answers to your questions in said book. And there is a lot of unanswered things. We're just going to take Christianity for an example. A lot of unanswered questions. And people might theorize, but in the end it all comes down to faith, and faith being the final answer. So if you say, because all in all, religion is a creation story. That's what it is. Almost every society has a creation story. That's to be expected. There's creation myths in every facet of just people in general. All over the world, everybody has a different thing about how we came to be here. That is one of the biggest questions there has ever been posed. So, all of these different religions are a creation story. And if you have questions beyond that that are not specifically answered in your creation story, that's all there is. And Christianity specifically doesn't want their creation story to be quote unquote debunked by science. And if you say, hey, this evidence shows that the universe was created, the Big Bang. And they're going to say, that's what science says, or disagree and say, but no, in reality, it was God. God created the universe. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with believing in your creation story. When in fact, absolutely nobody really knows how this happened. And I posed this question to my boyfriend the other day. I said, science says there was a Big Bang. Yes, that created life as we know it. But where did the bigger canvas come from? Say the Big Bang happened here, but where did what occurred before that in order to create this? because there had to be time, space, in order for this to happen. How did that get there? Because nobody really has anything before said Big Bang. Nobody knows what happened before. Well, nothing happened before that, they say. That was the beginning of the universe. Okay, but scientifically, if you're going to make a chemical reaction, these two chemicals were sitting here apart from each other before you poured them together and made an explosion. So, where was the dish? Where were the beakers? Where was the mat? Where is the canvas for the Big Bang to happen? I'm getting off topic a little bit. So, there is nothing wrong with believing your version of a creation story. Humans have been using creation stories in order to explain away our life for thousands of years. So, anybody else's creation story is just as good as the next person's. Religion as we know it today, though, is usually based around one book, has a set of beliefs, a set of traditions, is organized, and is usually held in buildings. So churches, mosques, temples, whatever. And religion is also usually interpreted by a person, whether this be a prophet, a priest, the dude that gets up and reads it out loud. Yes, you can study the book on your own, but when you go to worship, you go to the building and listen to someone else read it to you. So, those things are common in most all religions. The religions are also specifically concerned with this body, this life, the physical, the flesh. This body, your house, your car, your material things. And you're only concerned about this in order to proceed to a better afterlife. And a lot of religions, I'm not going to say force themselves to suffer, but a lot of them are concerned with the fact that we are here to live a life just riddled with pain and suffering and tragedy in order to teach us a lesson so that we may be eternally happy in an afterlife. Whereas a lot of spiritualists believe that not everything is concerned about the mortal coil, as it were. Spirituality is concerned with transcendence, of not always being in this body. They usually are going to believe that people have been reincarnated time over time, and that your spirit, your soul, is not confined to this life, this body, this realm, this plane of existence forever. And that, yes, while they may agree that we are here to learn a certain lesson, you're put into a body to learn a lesson that is very specific to the person that you were before you were brought down here. They're concerned with your higher consciousness. They're concerned with learning for themselves. Spirituality usually has nothing to do with one specific book. There is not one set way to be spiritual at all. And whereas religion, if you pick one, you usually stay there just straight on the entire time. Or flip to another one and stay there straight on. Spirituality is concerned with the most broad range of just topics. Yes, enlightenment, and yeah, that sounds a lot like Buddhism. And I'm not gonna... Buddhism's not necessarily your run-of-the-mill religion either. Because a lot of the things that they believe is also very spiritual. And I'm not gonna say that all religions have no element of spirituality. That's just not true. And as I said, I'm not bashing on one certain type of religion. I don't care if you have a religion. If that's your thing, go for it. If that's what works for you and brings you peace, absolutely. Nobody has the right to take away your peace from you. So, spirituality is more the philosophy of everything. If you have a question, you think about it, you ask the universe, the collective consciousness, in that everybody is not specifically set to bodies. You're not going to ask one single person the answers to everything. You're not going to rely on one single source of information for the answers to life as a whole. Spirituality may or may not involve gods, goddesses, deities, anybody else. And this is completely different and varied between person to person to person. And like I myself have spoken to many different types of entities, if you will. Gods, goddesses, spirit guides, angels, just a wide array of everything else that also is in the static space. So, spiritualists are more concerned about the soul, the spirit, and not the body, and not even this life specifically. A lot of them believe that you're just a soul learning lessons in order to go on to another body. You're not going to be completely attached to your material things. Also, a lot of self-divinity. They believe that why am I saying they? Because I'm also a spiritual person. I believe that as a person, you have power within you. You can invoke and you can create change around you. You don't need to wait for a deity to do that for you. Yes, I work with deities, but the difference between religion and spirituality is spiritual people don't necessarily worship a deity. That's why a lot of witches say that they work with a deity. That means you just say, hey, this is what I'm doing. I am using my own intent to create this life around me. And if you want to help out, hey, that'd be cool. Whereas a lot of religion involves praying, constantly praying, asking for help, which is not necessarily so different, really, except that there's really not any element of give and take. So, say me, for instance, I don't ask for favors from gods, from deities. I say, if you want to do this, that's great. I respect you. You know, this is what I have collected that I thought you'd like. We're friends, so we kind of give and take from each other, and I think that can be a really, really healthy relationship. Whereas, if you're constantly just asking for things, or I don't know. Prayer is usually, to me, more about asking for things. And a lot of people pray and they say, let's give thanks, and that is great. It doesn't always have to be a one-sided relationship, and I'm not saying that it is, and that varies from person to person. Anyway, but spiritually, they don't believe that necessarily any power is more than another, and that they themselves have a great deal of energy, of power to work with. A little pool, if you will, of just their own energy, and you're at home the most with yourself and your energy, and you're going to focus that and be this very knowledgeable, grounded being. And as a side note to that, I don't think that any knowledge is worthless. And the more you get, the more enlightened you're going to become. Also, the last thing, well, there's two things actually. The next thing is that you're constantly developing yourself. You're constantly trying to be better and more powerful and eliminate these things within yourself that are harmful or negative or blocking. And that is why they continue going through lives, from each one to the next, trying to be better every single time. Also, that heaven is a state of mind, and through a lot of meditation and astral traveling and just being completely at peace. And this might sound a little one-sided because I myself am spiritual. I am not religious at all. Even though I work with gods and goddesses, I am not religious and I don't worship, and faith is a very loose construct. But on to the last segment. Witchcraft is not religion. Witchcraft can be completely secular. Witchcraft is a practice, which is just like a person having a law practice or a therapist's practice or a doctor's practice. So that means you are working on a craft. It's like being an apprentice to a leather worker. You have tools and you use them. It doesn't matter necessarily that you might also be invoking higher powers to do so. Who knows that ye old cobbler didn't ask for help from Prometheus? Please don't let me forget my nails, Prometheus. You're the god of forethought. I really need to make those sandals today. Like, it could have happened. So, witchcraft is a practice. If you choose to make it spiritual or religious, if you want to be a Christian witch, if you want to have a little picture of the Virgin Mary up and you do your workings down here and you say, I'm doing this spell, and then you ask her for help, there's nothing wrong with that. But you do not have to be affiliated with any deity at all in order to practice witchcraft. Sorry if that got a little heated there. I know that people get a little uncomfortable when they go into a doctor and they're like, wait, you're still practicing? Why does it have to be on me? Why are you practicing on me? Shouldn't you already know what you're doing? Like, it makes me a little nervous. But with witchcraft, you're constantly learning new things and you're constantly improving your craft. So that is what I have to say on that topic, and I hope that you learned something. All of these views are mine. Please don't slaughter me. Everybody has an opinion. Learned that the hard way. Anyhow, I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Chew over what I've said. Get back to me. Anyhow, have a wonderful day practicing your craft, and may the nails in your sandals never stab you in the foot. Have a good night, guys.